Let's talk about IFRS 5, named as non-current asset held for sale and discontinued operations. First of all, let's try to understand why an entity and when an entity is required to apply IFRS 5 on which non-current assets IFRS 5 is applied. For example, we were using an equipment or an asset from last 3 years, and as we know, if the asset is being used in the business activities, that asset is actually covered in the scope of IS 16, and depreciation, the cost model or the revaluation model, all the things of IS 16 is applied to that asset. And the asset is being used in business activities. That's why we are treating that asset under the scope of IS 16. But now the entity has decided that they want to dispose this asset. They want to dispose this equipment. So if a company when decided to dispose the asset, so that asset would no longer be the part and parcel of IS 16. That asset should now be the part and parcel of IFRS 5, as we have decided to dispose the asset, and that asset would then be covered in the scope of IFRS 5. But first of all, before treating the asset under IFRS 5, there are certain conditions that should be met, and upon meeting those conditions, we can held that asset as for sale. IFRS 5 establishes a classification for non-current assets held for sale. The following conditions must be met for an asset or disposal group to be classified as held for sale. So if an entity wishes to classify an asset as held for sale, so before classification, the following certain conditions must be fulfilled, and if any of the condition from the following list is not met, in that scenario we cannot classify an asset as held for sale. So what are those certain conditions? We have a list of points. First of all, the first one is management is committed to a plan to sell. Number 2, the asset is available for immediate sale. Number third, an active program to locate a buyer is initiated. The sale is highly probable, and highly probable means after classification, the sale is expected to be within 12 months of classification as held for sale, subject to limited exceptions. There are also few exceptions available. Let's say you actually classified an asset held for sale in 2019, and the expected sale time is 12 months. But let's say due to any circumstances, if the asset is not sold within 12 months time period, but the rest of the conditions are still meeting the held for sale criteria, still that asset would be considered as held for sale and to be accounted under IFRS 5, because there are few exceptions available for this 12 months time period restriction. Next point, the asset is being actively marketed for sale at a sales price reasonable in relation to its fair value. So it's another condition. If you want to sell any asset, if you want to dispose any asset, you should market that asset. You should decide the value of that asset. You should decide the selling price of that asset, which is reasonable, which is equivalent to the market price of that asset. Let's say you are marketing your asset, you want to dispose an asset, and the normal market value of that asset is 200,000, but you are marketing, you are actually uh, advertising the selling price as 500,000. So no one will buy your asset because you are not marketing your asset at a reasonable market price. So this condition should also be met for the classification of the non-current asset as held for sale. The last point, actions required to complete the plan indicate that it is unlikely that plan will be significantly changed or withdrawn. So we have another condition that should be met. Keep remember, we are not talking about the small assets. We are talking about the assets which have a big impact, which have important role in the business activities. And if that type of asset, if any that type of asset is actually sold, so the decision making is normally made in the board of directors meeting. Board approve the disposal of the non-current asset. So there should be actions required to complete the plan indicate that it is unlikely that plan will be significantly changed or withdrawn. So if all the asset from first till end, and if all these points are met in this scenario, an entity can actually classify an asset as held for sale. If any of these points is not meeting, so it means the specific criteria as held for sale of non-current asset is not met, so we cannot classify that asset under the scope of IFRS 5. once an entity once an entity classified a non-current asset as held for sale, then the asset need to be disposed through a sale transaction. Therefore, operations that are expected to be wound down or abandoned would not meet the definition but may be classified as discontinued once abandoned. Now, let's say we were actually running a whole department on the basis of a single asset or group of assets, but now we have planned to dispose the single asset or the group of assets. So when we will dispose the asset, so it means our operations will also be closed down in the future time period. So that part like discontinued operations is also covered under the scope of IFRS 5, and we shall be discussing it in later time. What exactly do you mean by this disposal group? A disposal group is a group of assets, possibly with some associated liabilities, which an entity intends to dispose in a single transaction. Let's say, let's take an example like on a fueling station. If an entity wants to stop selling petrol, so it means all the assets related to petrol, like dispensers and all that, and the related equipments which are pertaining to petrol product would be sold then. So when a combined when all the assets are sold in a combo, so that would be considered as a disposal group, right? On the basis of this discussion which we have till yet in IFRS 5, so it's we have question number 1, and the requirement of question number 1 is simply what would be the building be classified as held for sale or not. So read this question very carefully and decide whether this building should be classified as held for sale or not. You need to check all these conditions. If the conditions are being met, so you can actually classify this building as held for sale. But if any or if all or any of the above condition is missing, so in that scenario this building would not be classified as held for sale. So you have 2 minutes time to decide whether this building should be classified as held for sale or not. Okay, let's start discussing this question. An entity is committed to plan to sell a building and has started looking for a buyer. There is a commitment, this point is met, and they are looking for a buyer, another point is met. The entity will continue to use the building until another building is completed to house the office staff located. Why? There was a point that the asset is available for immediate sale. Irrespective of that, they are committed and they are actually looking for a buyer. Asset is not available for immediate sale. Why? Because They are not planning to vacate the building until another building is constructed and the office staff is shifted to the newly constructed building. They are not planning to vacate this existing building. So it means the asset is not available for immediate sale. In this scenario, um, there is no intention to relocate the office staff until the new building is completed. So this point is not meeting the criteria's point. The asset is available for immediate sale is not met for this question. So we can say that would this building be classified as held for sale? No. Why? Because asset is not available for immediate sale. So that is why this asset, this building would not be classified as held for sale. Again, we have two more question regarding the same scenario. Requirement of question number 2 is would the disposal group be classified as held for sale? And in question number 3, requirement, should the asset be classified as held for sale in the financial statements for the year ending 31st December 2006? uh, just attempt these two questions. In question number 2, an entity is to is planning to sell part of its business that is to that is deemed to be a disposal group. The entity is in a business environment that is heavily regulated, and any sales require government approval. This means that the sale time is difficult to determine. Government approval cannot be obtained until a buyer is located and known for the disposal group and a firm purchase contract has been signed. However, it is likely that the entity will be able to sell the disposal group within 1 year time period. Only they are actually hoping that they will be disposing this asset in 1 year time period and not meeting any of the other condition for actually classifying the asset as held for sale, for classifying the disposal group as held for sale. They are only hoping that we will be selling this asset in 12 months time period, and even they don't have a buyer. And if they have buyer, then there should be an agreement, and on the basis of the buyer and the agreement, both seller and buyer should have to go to government, and government will approve this sale binding agreement, and they will allowing this sale transaction. Nothing is done till yet, but still they are hoping that they will be disposing this asset. So in this scenario we cannot actually classify this asset as held for sale, because no agreement, no buyer is located, no agreement made between buyer and supplier, and there is government approval required. So that government approval is actually can be taken when there is buyer and sale binding agreement, but nothing is done till yet. So we can say that no. Why we cannot classify this asset as held for sale? There are multiple answers for this why. Like there is no buyer till yet in the question, no agreement made between the seller and the buyer, and no government approval taken. So all the things are missing. In this scenario, we cannot classify this asset as held for sale. Question number 3, should the asset be classified as held for sale in the SOFP for the year ending 31st December 2006? Keep remember, a requirement is about for the year ending 31st December 2006. An entity has an asset that has been designated as held for sale in the financial year to 31st December 2005. Compare these two dates. Have a look at these two dates. We actually classified an asset in the last year ended 31st December 5, and requirement is actually about the treatment of this asset for the year ended 31st December 2006. Even we have classified that asset in the previous year as held for sale, but due to change in circumstances, that asset might may no longer be the part of this IFRS 5, because if at any point in time the above certain specified condition if not met, in that scenario we cannot record that asset as held for sale. So what next is there? During the financial year to 31st December 2006, the asset is still remain unsold, but the market condition for the asset have deteriorated significantly. Deteriorated means um, worse. Deteriorated means worse. Market condition of an asset is when deteriorated means market conditions of that asset is now worse. And in worse scenarios, normally what happens is the values of the asset uh, go down. The values of the asset may decline. So the entity believes that market condition will improve and has not reduced. What the company has done, company has not reduced the price of the asset, which continues to be classified as held for sale. The fair value of the asset in market is 5 million and the asset is being marketed at 7 million. Wow, what the company is doing, they are actually marketing this asset at 7 million, and the actual price of this asset, the fair value, the market value of this asset is 5 million. Why they are not reducing their price? Because they are believing that the market conditions will approve in future time period. So that's why they start marketing this asset at 7 million. So there was a point that asset should be marketed at a reasonable price to its fair value. All rest of the conditions are met, but the company is not actually marketing this asset at a reasonable market price. So in the absence of that point, so in the absence of that condition, this asset could not be the part and parcel of the IFRS 5 for the financial year end 31st December 2006. So we can simply write, so we can simply write no, no. Why? Why? Because company is not marketing the asset at reasonable fair value. Reasonable fair value is 5 million, and reasonable fair value of $5 million, and they are actually marketing this asset at 7 million. So they missed a point. In this scenario, we cannot classify this asset as held for sale for the year ended 31st December 2006. After covering the requirements of the classification of an asset as held for sale, now we are going to discuss the measurement of non-current asset as held for sale under IFRS 5. So keep remember, now we are going to study the accounting of the asset classified as held for sale under IFRS 5. Keep remember, IFRS 5 says classify non-current asset as held for sale at the lower of cost, or the lower of NRV, or fair value less cost to sell. Carrying value is the net book value, or fair value less cost to sell is the active market value. It's actually the value that is equal to net cash flows, because when we dispose the asset, but for disposing the asset, an entity may require to incur few costs like legal cost, like transaction cost, like any commission agent cost. So there could be any type of cost, and that cost would then be deducted from the disposal proceed. So a net disposal proceed is calculated. So that net disposal proceed would be considered as fair value less cost to sell. And IFRS 5 says you have to record the non-current asset held for sale at the lower of the book value or the carrying amount. Then we have a few definitions like impairment and non-depreciation. So we have covered the impairment under IS 36. What exactly do you mean by this non-depreciation? So keep remember one important point, and examiner usually ask this question in the exam. Let's say if an entity has met all the conditions and the asset is now recorded as held for sale, so that entity will be depreciating that asset or not. After classification of asset as held for sale under IFRS 5, should an entity depreciate that asset or not? So our answer should be no, depreciation should be charged on the asset that classified as held for sale. Means that asset is no longer part and parcel of the IAS 16, and assets are not be depreciated in IAS 16. But if the assets criteria, if the asset scope has now changed and the asset is being classified as held for sale, so no depreciation is charged on such type of assets. And the next point is about the balance sheet presentation. Now you can see that we are not using the asset in the business activities. If an asset is used in the business activities, that asset is shown in the balance sheet in the heading of non-current assets. But now you can see that we have classified if we have classified an asset as held for sale, it means that asset would be sold then in next 12 months time period. So that asset should not be recorded in the heading of non-current asset. After classification as an asset as held for sale, that asset should be classified as a current asset in the balance sheet. So it's all about the SOFP presentation of the asset that classified as held for sale. So you can read these two paragraphs so you will understand the point we just discussed now. Let's try to attempt a question, and we have discussed the first three questions. So it's question number 4. Requirement 1 of question 4 is how would the classification as held for sale and subsequent disposal be treated within in the 2006 financial statements? There are effectively two requirements in this question. First requirement is the accounting of the asset at classification time, and the second, the accounting of this asset at time of disposal. So now let's read the scenario very carefully. An asset carrying amount is 600,000. It is classified as held for sale, meeting all the conditions, and the asset is classified as held for sale on 30th September 2006. At that date, which date? At 30th September 6, its fair value less cost to sell is estimated at 550,000. The asset was sold for 555 on 30th November 2006. The company's year-end date is 31st December 2006. So effectively, we have three dates: um, classification date, classification as held for sale date, then disposal date, and disposal date is effectively 30th November 2006. 30th November 2006, and the classification as held for sale date is 30th September 2006. Means you classified an asset as held for sale on 30th September, and after 2 months, like from 1st October to 30th October, and then from 1st November to 30th November, at the end of the second month, the asset is actually disposed of, and asset disposed on 30th November 2006, and then year end date in this question is actually 31st December 2006. So keep remember, classification date according to IFRS 5, we need to classify this asset at the lower of what? We need to consider two things: the net book value of the asset and the fair value less cost to sell at time of classification. So if you look at the book value, that is 600,000, and fair value less cost to sell at that time is effectively 550,000. So the book value is 600,000 and fair value less cost to sell is 550,000. So lower of value would be 550,000 in this scenario. So what would be the double entry? So keep remember that asset is no longer be the part and parcel of non-current assets. So non-current asset is to be credited with the value that is equal to book value, and book value of asset 600,000 is credited, and and the asset is now debited as current asset. But what should be the value of the non-current asset? According to lower of concept, lower of value is 550,000. So current asset is debited by 550,000. What's the differential? How we can actually conclude the things, and where should be this differential is to be recorded? So keep remember, the differential amount is on debit side with the value of 50,000, and this 50,000 is actually to be considered as the impairment loss. This debit figure is to be considered as the impairment loss. Now, what we can do next? We just classified this current asset by 550 at the lower of concept, and we credited the asset with a book value of 600,000, and differential amount is actually recorded as impairment loss. Keep remember, on 30th November 6, after 2 months, the asset is sold for 555,000. So the value of asset, the value of asset the value of asset according to this journal entry was 550,000. When we classified this asset at the lower of the value was 550,000. Disposal proceed. This asset disposed for a value of 555,000, and effectively resultingly a differential amount of 5,000 would be considered as gain on disposal. How the gain is recorded now? What should be the double entry to record this disposal? So this current asset is now disposed. The current asset debited with the value of 550,000. So we are crediting the value of that current asset which we recorded 2 months ago. The current asset is now credited by the same value 550,000. At time of disposal, we actually received a cash of 555,000. So a differential is to be recorded as gain credited with the value of 5,000. So this is how we completed the double entry. And keep remember, this asset would not be reflected in the non-current asset because the non-current asset credited on 30th September, and this asset would also not be shown in the heading of current asset because this current asset sold on 30th November 2006, and for this asset there is no figure for the balance sheet. So it's all about the treatment of this asset, which firstly we actually uh, classified as held for sale, and then the asset sold on 30th November 2006, in effect before the year end date. So that asset would no longer be the part and parcel at the year end balance sheet date assets. It was a requirement one of this question number 4. There is only one change for requirement 2 of this question number 4. Question number 4 requirement 2 is, how would the answer differ if the carrying amount of the asset on 30th September 6 was 500,000 with all the other figures remaining the same? Uh, Now let's assume it's classification time, classification date as held for sale, and that date is 30th September 2006. Rest of the things are if are same, then disposal date and disposal date in this scenario would also remain same. That's 30th November 2006, and year end date would also remain same, that is 31st December 2006. Student asks a question, if it is not sell till the year end, then will it be the part of asset? Let's say we classified this asset at 30th September 2006, and if the asset is not disposed and the year end date is 31st December 6 and still the asset has not yet sold, then this asset would be recognized as an asset in the balance sheet but in the heading of current asset, right? If the asset if the asset which classified as held for sale not disposed till year end date, then that asset would be reflected in the balance sheet under the heading of the current assets. So keep remember at 30 at classification time, again IFRS 5 says record that asset at the lower of two things: the lower of net book value and the fair value less cost to sell. Fair value less cost to sell is given in the question. At 30th September at classification time, its fair value less cost to sell is 550, 555,000. It's 550 or 555,000. It's actually 550,000, right? So we are taking this fair value less cost to sell at classification time at 550, and net book value of in this question is changed now. At 30th September 6 classification time, carrying amount is now 500,000. So carrying amount on this date is now 500,000. So according to the lower of concept, IFRS 5 says lower of concept in lower value is now this 500,000. So what should be the double entry? The double entry of this asset in this scenario is non-current asset with a book value of 500,000 is credited, and according to the lower of concept, this asset would be recorded as a current asset in the balance sheet at the same value of 500,000. If the book value is lower in this scenario, there would be no impairment loss, as we just found the impairment loss in the last scenario, where the book value was in excess of the fair value less cost to sell. But you can see in this scenario, fair value less cost to sell is a greater figure, that is 550, and the book value of asset is 500,000. So it means non-current asset is required to be credited at 500,000, and same amount of asset is to be converted into current assets. At disposal date, you can see that value of asset. Now this value is important for us. Value of asset is 500,000 and disposal proceed value is same. Disposal, an asset disposed at 30th September 30th November 2006 at a value of 555,000. So resultingly, the excess amount which we received, that is 55,000. This 55,000 is actually is gain on disposal in this scenario. So what should be the double entry to record this gain? The double entry would remain same. This current asset is to be credited with the value of 500,000, and result and effectively we received a cash debited by 555,000, and resultingly the excess amount is credited as gain 55,000. And at year end balance sheet, non-current asset, there is no non-current asset because this non-current asset has converted during year in the current assets. And if we mark the heading of current asset, so this asset would also not be shown under the under the heading of current assets, because this asset being sold before the year end date, and the asset sold on 30th November 6, and year end date is 31st December 2006. So effectively assets should not be shown either in current assets or the non-current asset at year end date. Okay. In IFRS 5, next concept is about the subsidiaries held for disposal. As we all know the concept of the parent and subsidiary company. Subsidiary company is a company where the parent acquired more than 50% shareholding. Simply we can say that the parent company is a company which control the other company, and the other company would be considered as the subsidiary. So how a parent company, how a company can control the other company? So normally what happens when a company acquires more than 50% shareholding of other entity, and power the control to exercise to take financing and operating the CN making of other entity. So it means the parent company normally controls the subsidiary company. So here is a concept of the subsidiaries held for sale. IFRS 5 IFRS 5 applies to accounting for an investment in subsidiary for which control is intended to be temporary. Now, if a parent company acquires shareholding of other entity for a long term purpose, so that subsidiary is required to be consolidated. But if a company, if a parent company like acquired 100% shareholding in any subsidiary company, but the intention that the investment is a temporary investment, so IFRS 5 is applied to that subsidiary, because the intention is for short term investment, because the subsidiary is acquired and is held exclusively with the view to its subsequent disposal in the near future. For such a subsidiary, for which subsidiary? The subsidiary which we acquired for for as a temporary investment, and we will be disposing that subsidiary in later time after acquisition. So for such a subsidiary, it is highly probable that the sale will be completed within the 12 months. Then the parent should accounted for its investment in subsidiary under IFRS 5 as an asset as held for sale, rather than consolidate it under IS 27. Normally, what happens? We always study till F3 level that all subsidiaries should be consolidated. But keep remember, at FR level, there might be an MCQ like that. If a parent acquired 100% shares of a company, so the investment is for short-term purposes, so that subsidiary should be consolidated or not? Answer is very simple. If the subsidiary is not held for long-term purposes, and if the subsidiary's shares acquired for short-term purposes, in that scenario, that inventory, that subsidiary should not be consolidated. Rather, it should be actually accounted under IFRS 5. However, IS 27 is still required that if a subsidiary had that previously been consolidated is now being held for sale, the parent must continue to consolidate such a subsidiary until it's actually disposed of. This paragraph is actually about a new thing. Let's say we have a subsidiary, a parent have a subsidiary since last 10 years, and since last 10 year it is being consolidated. But now the parent has decided to dispose that subsidiary. Now what should we do with that subsidiary? We actually consolidated subsidiary in the last years. So in this year, we shall be consolidating the subsidiary result to the parent until its actual disposal. It is not excluded from consolidation and reported as an asset as held for sale under IFRS 5. So keep remember, if you have a subsidiaries investment which you have from a long period of time, if you intended to sell for the subsidiary, but till its actual disposal, you shall continue to consolidate its result with the parent company. Now, what next is there? An entity is committed to a sale involving loss of control of subsidiary that qualifies for held for sale classification under FRS 5 shall classify all of the assets. And it's actually this paragraph is actually pertains to the concept of the disposal group. This paragraph is actually pertaining to the concept of the disposal group, and disposal group, we shall be covering this concept in a later time. I'm not going to discuss this concept right now, because I want to guide about this concept with the facts and figures and with the numbers. So it will make more clear to you guys. So skipping this point, the concept of the disposal group for the time being. The next heading in IFRS 5 is classification as discontinuing. A discontinued operation is a component of an entity that either has been disposed of or is classified as held for disposal. So it's represent a major separate line of business or geographical area of the business, or this discontinued operation may be as part of single coordinated plan to dispose of a separate major line of business or geographical area of operations, or this discontinued operation may be a subsidiary acquired exclusively with the view to resale, and the disposal involve loss of control. Let's take an example. Let's say if a bank decides to close its few branches, so that closure of branches would be considered as discontinued operations. Why the closure of branch, bank branch, it would be considered as discontinued operation? Because that single branch is actually a separate major line of business for that bank, and that branch has a geographical area, separate geographical area, and that branch has its separate operations. So if an entity decides about any segment of the business that it will be shutting down, so that segment might represent the geographical area or the separate major line of business. So if a company decides about the discontinued operations, what's the treatment for this decision? So keep remember, ifrs 5 allows us IFRS 5 allows us two ways. IFRS 5 allows us two ways for representing discontinued operations in profit and loss statement. Why we need to represent the discontinued operations in the P&L? Because again, let me explain few things, that we are actually preparing financial statement for external reporting. We are preparing these financials for external persons, for the stakeholders, for the shareholders, for the persons external to the business. So why we need to represent the discontinued operations in P&L separately? Because the user of financial statement might understand that you are actually closing this business segment, and this may affect your future profits as well. So that is why it is required by ifrs 5 that if a business is actually decided to discontinue operation, so that discontinued operation should be represented separately in the profit and loss statement. So it will actually give an idea to user of financial statement, and they can plan their investments by having the idea that you are actually discontinuing few operations. So the first way, ifrs 5 actually allows us two ways for representing discontinued operations. So method one, you can show the things like, in first column you can write the discontinued operations, and in second column you can show the discontinued operations, and in you are actually preparing profit and loss statement. In this scenario, in method 1 of presentation, you can have two headings of the continued operations and discontinued operation, and then total. First of all, as we write the sales, so sales from continued operations will be shown over here, and from the discontinued operations will be recorded separately. And then from this sale, as we did a cost of sales from the continued operations and discontinued operations shown separately. And after deducting this cost of sale, gross profit from continued operations and from discontinued operations, and the total, and from expenses of continued operations and the discontinued operations. So means showing all the P&L items separately in this way. So it's a method one for representing P&L from the discontinued operations. Now let's talk about the P&L, how an entity can make P&L in method 2. Simply, in the method 2, there is no need to bifurcate the things. Just mark a heading of all the things from continuing use, like you are selling from the continued operations. From sales, do deduct the cost of goods sold, and then after deducting cost of sale, gross profit, and from this gross profit, after deducting expenses, you will end up with a profit, that is profit before interest and tax. And after deducting this profit before and interest and tax, do deduct the finance cost, means interest expense. After deducting interest expense, so the profit before tax is calculated. And now one line item is required here. What's that? After profit before tax, you can show profit or loss. You can show one line item, profit and loss from discontinued operations. It's a method 2. In method 2, for representing discontinued operation, two columns, the separate columns are not required. You can actually prepare one column P&L as you normally prepare, but after the profit before tax, you need to add one line item that represent the profit and loss from the discontinued operations. If the profit, that will be added over here, and if a loss, that will be deducted over here. After this, you will end up with the profit after tax, and you will be marking this thing, that the working of this profit and loss from the discontinued operations. You have to mark the relevant note for this, means you can show the working where you have calculated these figures. Let's say note number X. In note number X, you can go, the user of financial statement can go and have the things that how an entity actually calculated the profit or loss figure from the discontinued operations. So an entity can represent the discontinued operations P&L in these two manners.